Greetings, this is the man who pretends to be Charles Darwin, and I'm speaking to you, as you can see, from the edge of a cornfield. Now, if I look like my face is bleeding, then it's because it is, and that's because I fell into a patch of brambles just before starting this video, and I thought I'm not going to go home, wash the blood away, and then come all the way back to do this video. I'm just going to let you look at my bloody face and the blood that has fallen on my Cherokee t-shirt. I'm a member of the Cherokee tribe, and one of the things we like to do is think of ourselves as stewards of our land. I have just published a book, and the book is called Forgotten Landscapes. Here it is, right here, Forgotten Landscapes: How Native Americans Created Pre-Columbian North America and What We Can Learn from It. And one of the chapters is chapter 4 about Native American agriculture, and what surprises many people is, in fact, that there was such a thing as Native American agriculture. A lot of people think Native Americans were all savages. Now, not that there's anything wrong with being a savage, but they were thinking, well, hunters and gatherers, they would hunt deer, they would gather berries and nuts and dig up roots and things like that. And that was a misperception that many people have had regarding Native Americans. And actually, most Native American tribes were farmers. In the eastern half of North America, most of the farms were rain-fed because there was enough rainfall. In the western half of North America, there was a lot of irrigated agriculture, which I will describe in chapter 5 of my book as well. So even the people who liked us, like Ralph Waldo Emerson in his essay Farming, said that Native Americans basically didn't have farming, that they lived miserable lives just gathering whatever they could find. But that was not true. And what we see here in this cornfield is a monoculture. That is, all one kind of crop, a large area of just one kind of crop, and no other species mixed in with it. And that's what most American agriculture is like. But this is in France, right here. This is in northern France, in Alsace, and it's pretty much the same thing. The fields are smaller, there's more different kinds of crops, they practice more crop rotation, but it's still basically monoculture rather than polyculture. But Native American agriculture was based on polyculture. That is, a mixture of different crops growing together. And the main three crops were maize, beans, and squash. Now, these different crops, by growing together, each one of them will deplete the soil a little bit differently. As a matter of fact, the beans have nitrogen-fixing bacteria in their roots, and they will actually enrich the soil with nitrogen compounds. And so that's one of the advantages of polyculture over monoculture. And when I say what we can learn from Native Americans, that's one of the things we can learn, is the importance and the benefits of polyculture. Another benefit is that pests spread more slowly through polycultures than through monocultures. When you have a monoculture like this, a huge cornfield, then if a pest got started, such as the corn borer got started, then every plant that it could spread to would be something that it could eat. Whereas if you had different crops mixed together, it was more difficult for any one kind of crop pest to spread. Except, of course, for locusts. Locusts will eat anything. I've even seen them eat plastic. But other than that, then the pests will tend to spread more slowly in a polyculture. And another thing that you won't see in America, and you won't see in France either, is agroforestry. And that's where you have trees that are growing, and they cast some shade on the ground, and it's in that shade that the crops are grown. And the shade is not enough to cause the crops to grow slowly, but it is enough to hold down the soil from the wind. And also, another thing that can benefit it is that birds can live in the trees, and then the birds can catch insects. They'll fly out of the branches. Birds will not tend to fly out in the open very much because hawks will catch them, but the smaller birds will live in the trees, then will swoop down to eat the insect pests. So now, why did the Native Americans have agroforestry and modern agriculture does not? Is it because the Native Americans had ecological insights that modern Americans do not? Well, that's possible, but it could also just be that since they did not have metal tools, it was just too hard to cut down the trees, so they just planted underneath them. Now, one important point about Native American agriculture is that the Native American populations were too large to be supported by just hunting and gathering. They had to raise crops in agricultural fields. And this is particularly true in the Cherokee tribe, and that's because when the English and later the Americans tried to conquer the Cherokee tribe, what they did was they sent the soldiers into the fields to pull up the corn stalks one by one in order to starve out the Cherokees. That would not have been necessary if the Cherokees were just hunters and gatherers. So in this book, I want to increase and enhance the appreciation of Native American agriculture. First of all, just to understand that there was such a thing. And secondly, to learn some of its characteristics from which we might be able to improve modern agriculture in Europe and in America. This is the man who pretends to be Charles Darwin. Tally ho, and amen.